You know what's strange? The most intelligent people you'll ever meet rarely walk into a room announcing it. They don't declare it. In fact, research consistently shows that the people who most loudly claim to be smart are often the ones who've thought about things the least. True intelligence tends to announce itself quietly through patterns of behavior, habits of mind, and a particular relationship with uncertainty that most people spend their whole lives avoiding. And that's exactly what we're going to explore today. Not IQ scores, not academic credentials, but the subtle, fascinating psychological patterns that show up in genuinely intelligent people. Patterns that cognitive psychologists have documented and that you may already recognize in yourself or someone you know. Let's start with something that might surprise you. Highly intelligent people are extraordinarily comfortable saying, "I don't know." That sounds almost too simple, right? But here's why it matters. Psychologists call it intellectual humility, the ability to recognize the limits of your own knowledge without feeling threatened by them. Research from the University of Michigan found that people who score high on intellectual humility are actually better at updating their beliefs when new evidence arrives. Their ego isn't attached to being right. It's attached to understanding things correctly. And those are very different things. This connects to another pattern that shows up consistently in intelligent people. They tolerate ambiguity unusually well. Most of us are wired to resolve uncertainty as quickly as possible. The brain's prefrontal cortex works hard to create order out of chaos, to reach conclusions, assign labels, and move on. But highly intelligent individuals are able to sit with open questions for longer. They resist the urge to snap to an answer before all the information is in. Psychologists call this the ability to tolerate cognitive dissonance, and it is genuinely rare. Now, here's something worth pausing on for a moment. Think about the people in your life who seem to know something about everything. The ones who get genuinely curious about topics completely unrelated to their job, their status, or their social circle. That curiosity is not accidental. Research shows that intellectual curiosity, sometimes called openness to experience in personality psychology, is one of the most reliable predictors of intelligence. And it's not just about learning more facts. It's about the way the brain is wired to seek novelty, to ask why and what if, to find the pattern underneath the surface of things. Intelligent people don't just consume information. They find themselves genuinely pulled toward ideas that don't yet have answers. There's also a quieter sign that's easy to overlook. Highly intelligent people tend to be deeply aware of their own thinking, what psychologists call metacognition. They notice when their reasoning might be flawed. They catch themselves making assumptions. They'll often say things like, "I could be wrong about this," not out of false modesty, but because they genuinely understand how fragile their mental models can be. This kind of self-monitoring is actually a higher order cognitive function, and it separates people who think well from people who merely think a lot. And there's one more pattern that tends to surprise people when they hear it. Intelligent people often have a very dry, abstract sense of humor. Studies have found a significant link between verbal intelligence and the ability to appreciate complex, layered humor, the kind that requires you to hold multiple meanings in mind simultaneously and find the unexpected connection between them. Humor, at its core, is a form of pattern recognition, and pattern recognition is one of the most fundamental expressions of intelligence. Here's the psychological takeaway worth holding on to. Intelligence is less about what you know and more about how you hold knowledge. It shows up in the questions people ask, the uncertainty they're willing to sit with, the humility they bring to their own conclusions, and the relentless pull they feel toward understanding, not just being understood. And if some of these patterns felt familiar as you were listening, if you found yourself drawn to open questions, comfortable admitting uncertainty, quietly curious about how things work beneath the surface, that's not a coincidence. That's your mind doing something quite remarkable, even when no one else is watching.